Hey guys, coming to me another movie for you guys, continuing my 31 days of horror movie reviews. This is day 11, and I know I'm very behind. I tried to get a review up yesterday, I just didn't have the time to. I will catch up this weekend, I promise you guys that will happen, because I will make sure I review 31 films. I don't know how, but I will do it. Now, this movie we're reviewing, though, is probably my most surprising one yet, because this is a movie that, as you guys know, I want to watch 31 films. In order to maintain that, I have to add some placeholders that I don't really want to see, but I think are going to be fun to review. And one of them was this movie. Going into this movie, I really didn't think much of it, and that is the 1983 psychological horror classic, Christine. Christine was a movie that I really wasn't looking forward to at all. I thought this was going to be a so bad it's good movie. It didn't seem like a movie that was very compelling. It seemed like a very dumb movie. And I really thought that this was just going to be a movie that I watched for shits and giggles. And that's really all I thought it was going to be. However, after watching this movie, I gotta tell you guys that, while I think Christine does have a few problems, I actually really enjoyed this movie. I did get it from my library, as you can see here, but I actually really enjoyed Christine. In fact, it's probably the most surprising of the 31 Days of Horror movies so far. I did not expect to really like this movie at all, but I actually really like this movie. It's surprisingly a lot deeper than I, thought it was, and I also feel holds up very well today, definitely. But let's get to the plot of Christine, which I honestly really do love the plot to this movie, because the main plot of this movie focuses on this guy, our main character. His name is Arnie, and he is the definition of just a stereotypical nerd, and he really only has one friend. He's picked on in school a lot, and he just doesn't really have the greatest life ever. He's bullied pretty much by everyone, and he then one day meets this car, named Christine. It's a red Plymouth, and it's in need of extensive repairs, and, everyone's telling him, oh, this car is trash, don't even think about it, it's from the 1950s, who cares? But Arnie decides to use this car as an opportunity to, redeem himself, to change his life around, and he completely changes his life around, but eventually he starts to realize that he is actually, that this car might actually be possibly in love with him, and this car starts to basically lash out at anyone that comes near it, starts to attack people, and eventually Arnie realizes that the car is basically trying to turn him into a serial killer, and he doesn't know how to stop it, and that basically is the plot of Christine. Now, yes, the plot does sound stupid, but it's really not, and I'll tell you guys why. This is a lot more of a character-driven film than I thought it was going to be. I thought this movie was just going to be this car killing people. That's what I thought the whole movie was going to be. It's a lot more than that. It's really focused on three characters overall. Now, by far, the standout is Keith Gordon as Arnie, who is perfect in this role. I thought that he had this character down perfectly, honestly. The character of Arnie, I think, is something we can all relate to, because at first in the movie, he is completely out of touch with society. He's getting bullied by everyone. Everyone hates him. He's not very well liked by anyone, really. And when he sees this car, he kind of just changes his entire life around. Suddenly, he's popular. He's overconfident. He's kind of a dick towards, the second half of this movie. But I think he did a really great job, definitely. I really liked, and also, his bond with the car seems silly, but the reason he has this bond with Christine that he has, because she is, again, something that's just not in touch with society. She's from the 1950s. She only plays 1950, car only plays 1950s music, and that's something that he really admires. He sees how different she is and how different he is, and that's why they blend so well together. And that bond is really interesting in the movie. I know it's silly just saying this is about a car, but it really works well in this movie because you care so much for Arnie's character, and his character is so well done. Even when his character is doing these things that are kind of just, very douchey, and you're just like, this guy is an ass. Seriously, he is an ass at times. He's very overconfident, towards a point in this movie. You still care for him because you want things to go well for him. You want things to work out, and I think he definitely did a very good job here. I also really like John Stockwell as Dennis. He was also very good in the movie. One of the things I love about his character is that he always sticks by Arnie's side no matter what happens. He's the one person that doesn't feel Arnie is a weird person. He does understand him. He does want to be friends with him. He is probably his only friend, and I thought he did a very good job in the movie. Their bonding overall was just fantastic. I really love their bonding in the movie, definitely. It's a very powerful bond, and I thought he did a fantastic job with his character. His character is actually not in the movie as much as you think because of something that happens very early on in the film, but for what he was in, he was fantastic. I thought he did a great job. I also really love Alexandra Paul as Lee, who is Arnie's true love and is the girl he truly does love. But because Christine is so attached to Arnie, she kind of doesn't want him to be with anyone else. And I really like that about, Christine. I really like that about Lee's character because she really does care about Arnie. She wants to be with him, but obviously she's terrified of this car. She's the one that starts to realize something's wrong with this car. And I really thought her character was really great. She did a very good job, and I definitely thought that she was very good. Even the bullies I thought were pretty good. The people that harassed Arnie were really good, and definitely I really enjoyed their performances in the film. Definitely, everyone was really good for the most part in terms of acting. Acting I thought was surprisingly very good. For a movie that I didn't think was going to be very good at all, the acting I thought was actually one of the strongest points of the movie. The other reason I think the movie turned out as well as it did is because it's directed by John Carpenter, who at this point was just on a hot streak of amazing movies. He had made Halloween, he had done just so many big movies at this point, things like, Halloween and the Halloween franchise, and I'm trying to think of other movies he's done, like Prince of Darkness, he did that, but this is kind of, not regarded as big as one of his films, but I think the reason the movie turned out as well as it is because of the way John Carpenter directed it. He doesn't direct this as just some cheesy movie. You really get into Arnie's head, and you understand why he has this connection with the car. And through his direction, you're able to take this movie seriously, and I really didn't think I was going to be able to, but we're able to take it so seriously because we understand everything about why this is happening and why this is going on. And that's why I thought it turned out as well as it is, because of John Carpenter's directing, and I really feel if his directing not been as strong, the movie wouldn't have been as good. And it's a perfect example of, again, another one of Stephen King's stories being changed by a director and making it even better. Of course, Stephen King hates it when movies are, the movies don't accurately portray his story, but I don't even know if this accurately portrayed the book. I don't think I'll ever read the book, but I think that John Carpenter just directed this very well, and I definitely really liked his directing the movie. He did a very good job. The screenplay was also very compelling, I have to say, definitely. I mean, just the way the movie goes, with the way things are going for Arnie, and then you get to the character of Dennis. Just the way their bond is throughout the movie, I thought was definitely very good. My really only complaint with the movie is the first half of the movie, I absolutely love. I thought the first hour, I was honestly riveted. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was honestly riveted by the film. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I'm loving it. And then it gets to a point where the car starts killing all these different people in Arnie's life that should be killed, but it eventually just becomes like, oh, Christine killed this person, then they killed this person. And it's not that these scenes aren't good. They're actually quite scary. There are some scenes in this movie that are quite scary. I mean, just think that this car is driving by itself and putting you in that position. It is pretty scary to think about. But just seeing the car kill people, it slows the story down, and it made me a little bit less interested in the movie. And that really is the only complaint I have in terms of the screenplay. But it is a big factor because it did take away from the story a bit. And there was a point in this movie where I'm like, I'm not as into this because it was just Christine killing all these different people. And while it is interesting to watch, it's not as interesting as seeing Arnie's journey with Christine and his connection with Christine. That really is what drives this movie and what makes it as memorable and actually, as sad as it is. I mean, you actually do feel bad for Arnie, and you kind of feel bad for Christine too. Christine obviously is a killer. She has an agenda. She doesn't want anyone else in Arnie's way, but you do feel bad for her because, again, she's being treated wrongly by society, and you understand why Arnie feels bad for him, why he has a connection that he does for her. And I definitely really like seeing that, especially when you can get me to relate to someone that I'm not supposed to like. That's when you know you have a really good villain here. And I never thought a car would be scary, but this car does look scary. When this car is going up to people, it looks scary. When the car is attacking people and has this fire, I mean, there's this one scene where it attacks this person and ends up going into flames. I mean, it is a very scary scene. And you picture Christine not just as a car, but as a human being. And that's something I thought was very well done. And the fire really represents her rage and things like that, and I just thought that was extremely well handled. The cinematography is really good to the movie. It's actually not dated at all. I was surprised by how not dated this was. It's not dated at all, really. I think it still looks fantastic. It looks very well done, and definitely was one of the strongest parts of this movie. The climax definitely, I think, is one of the best parts of this movie. As I said, the second half I was a bit uninterested, but then when we got to the climax, I was so into it. It was such an awesome climax, and I really didn't know how this movie was going to end. This is a very unpredictable movie. You don't really know what's going to happen when Christine starts, from the second that Christine starts to get jealous of Lee, and you think that, oh, this is just jealousy, you don't really know where the movie is going to go, and that's something I was very impressed by. I thought this was going to be a very predictable movie, but it really was pretty unpredictable. I didn't really know what was going to happen at the end of this movie, and I was very impressed by that. The score as well is great. Now, most of the score is 1950s music because Christine, of course, plays the 1950s music, which is very creepy in this movie. It's very well done. It's a good way of getting us scared of, Christine. I mean, this music that's playing, it's really calm and soothing, but it's scary because it's coming from this car. It's playing by itself. It's honestly pretty scary, and I definitely really love that. But John Carpenter's score, when it is in there, is very good. It's obviously very haunting. Now, it's not it's not da 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 da. It's not that. It's not the Halloween score, but I do think it's a pretty good score, and I thought it was definitely another one of the strong points of the movie. I really enjoyed the score to this movie. The editing, I thought, was a bit of a problem. The movie was very slow-paced in the first half, and then when Christine started killing different people, it suddenly wasn't anymore. It seemed to take a turn after that. The movie got a lot more fast-paced, and it wasn't that I was uninterested, just there were some scenes in the middle half that felt kind of unnecessary, and there are points in this movie where I did feel they did some things for shock value. There were some people that were killed. There are people that were killed in multiple scenes, like she kills this person, then she kills this person in the same scene, and it just felt like maybe it was done for shock value, but you also see it as she's getting revenge, because there is a scene very early on in the movie where these guys are destroying her, and obviously she wants to get revenge, and you really do see that, and I definitely really like seeing that, with Christine. Again, I know I'm putting so much into just a car, but that's what the movie requires you to do. It requires you to look at this car as not just a car, and actually makes you think this car has feelings, which it does. The car, now in the book, apparently, Christine is supposed to be possessed by the original owner, and that the original owner is still part of the car. That I think is really interesting, but the thing I like what John Carpenter did is that he made the car an actual character. You don't need to know, so that really gets rid of any unnecessary exposition we could have had. We don't need any exposition of, oh, this person had Christine, and that's why Christine is this way. There's really none of that in this movie. I mean, there is some things here and there that we see with Christine, but this is not one of those movies where they're trying to investigate why Christine is doing this. It's not really one of those kind of movies, and I definitely really enjoyed that because it just felt unnecessary. It didn't seem like we needed that, and I'm happy that they didn't do that. The other thing that's really scary about this movie is that you can actually buy this car. You can buy this car. I believe it's still around, and obviously it's quite scary. They also plan on making a sequel to this movie, which I really hope they don't, because I feel the ending of this movie is pretty perfect, even though it is left a little bit ambiguous towards the end. I don't really want to, I'm not going to get into sports, because it's not really a movie you need to spoil or anything. But I thought that the climax overall, like I said, was very thrilling, and I was definitely on the edge of my seats. Is this movie scary? Yeah, I think this movie definitely is scary because you really think of it as him having this bond with this inanimate object and just what it starts to do to him, and how just this one inanimate object can change his life and make things so bad, but then make things so, make things so good, but then make things so bad as well. And it really shows how everything in life has pros and cons, and that definitely is something that I really enjoyed about the movie. I thought it was really good overall. But overall, guys, Christine, like I said, is probably the biggest surprise out of 31 Days of Horror so far. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. I think it's a really great movie overall. Is it the best horror movie I've ever seen? No. Is it the best horror movie I've seen for 31 Days of Horror so far? No. That is still Bride of Frankenstein, obviously. But it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It was a lot more interesting, a lot more gripping, definitely. And I'm definitely giving Christine a 4 out of 5 or a B+. It is a very enjoyable movie overall. Besides those scenes that kind of just felt unnecessary with Christine killing all those innocent people, some of them weren't innocent, but some of them were, and it seemed kind of necessary that they did that. I would overall recommend this. I know it might sound silly, but I think if you go into this knowing it's more of a character-driven story, actually, I'd say go into this not really knowing a lot, because I really went into this not really knowing a lot about it at all. Go into it not knowing a lot, and I think overall you're going to be very impressed and probably very surprised by how much deeper Christine really is. But that's it for my review, Christine. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this movie, have seen it. I'm hoping to do another movie review for you guys today. I don't know if I will be able to. If not, I will tomorrow. But let me know if you guys saw this movie, have seen it. And I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of The Flash. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.